Have you ever felt at the mercy of your own emotions, as if you're walking a tightrope over an endless sea of turmoil? Many of us know that feeling, where emotions dawn and just pass through us but threaten to consume us. It's an old story, as old as humanity itself, yet it's as fresh as each of our daily struggles. The ancient Stoics understood this battle well, and so do many of the epic tales we hear, even fictional ones like Anakin Skywalker's descent into chaos. Hidden in these stories are powerful truths about mastering emotions, transforming chaos into clarity, and finding strength where others see only weakness. This isn't a just abstract philosophy. It is a practical guide for anyone who wants to live with balance and resilience. If you've ever been overwhelmed by your feelings, you're in the right place. Together, we'll explore timeless lessons that will help you turn emotional battles into victories. The first step is simple but powerful. Step away for a while. Imagine you're in a crowded, noisy room where the noise is so loud you can't even hear yourself think. The wisest thing to do is to step outside, not to escape, but to regain clarity. The Stoic philosopher Seneca believed in retreating into oneself to gain perspective. By stepping back from the noise, you see the bigger picture, just as standing farther from a painting allows you to appreciate its full design. Aristotle also reminded us that understanding ourselves is the beginning of all wisdom. Taking a break is not weakness, it's strength. It cools your emotions and gives you space to react wisely. As Epictetus said, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Once you've stepped away, the second step is reflection. Ask yourself, why did I step back? What is this person or situation doing to my growth? Are they lifting me up or pulling me down? Epictetus encouraged surrounding yourself with people who help you become your best self. Socrates famously declared that an unexamined life is not worth living. Honest reflection reveals whether you are in an environment that supports your growth or one that constantly drags you into negativity. This kind of self-inquiry is crucial. Just as plants need the right soil to grow, we too need the right relationships and surroundings to flourish. The third step is to consult with trusted individuals. When you're tangled in emotions, talking with someone you trust can be like a ray of light in a dark forest. Seneca compared a good friend to a mirror, reflecting truths about us we cannot always see. When emotions cloud our vision, wise counsel can restore clarity. Socrates believed in dialogue as a way to uncover truth, while Aristotle saw true friendship as a foundation of virtue and growth. Choose people who can listen without judgment and who genuinely want to see you flourish. Their perspective may not solve everything, but it can help you see new paths and feel less alone. Fourth, you must set emotional boundaries. Emotions are like ocean waves, natural, inevitable, and sometimes overwhelming. The Stoics taught that we cannot control external events, but we can control our responses. Plato's metaphor of the charioteer guiding unruly horses illustrates this beautifully. Reason must guide passion, not the other way around. Setting boundaries doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means acknowledging them, understanding their source, and consciously choosing your response. Marcus Aurelius often spoke about creating an inner fortress of peace, a place where the chaos of the outside world could not disturb him. You can cultivate this same fortress by balancing emotion with reason. Fifth, consider the consequences of your actions. Before making big decisions, whether distancing from someone or speaking in anger, pause and ask, what will this lead to? Marcus Aurelius emphasized foresight, and Seneca stressed the interconnectedness of human choices. True wisdom isn't just thinking about immediate relief, but about long-term impact. Aristotle's concept of the golden mean is helpful here. Find the balance between extremes. For example, silence can be wise, but total withdrawal might hurt relationships unnecessarily. Wise choices consider both self-growth and the well-being of others. Sixth, in today's world, one of the best steps you can take is to take a break from social media. Our feeds are like relentless storms, every ping, every update disturbing the stillness of our minds. Marcus Aurelius taught us not to let external events steal our peace, and this applies perfectly to modern life. By disconnecting, you give your mental lake time to calm. Instead of scrolling, try reading, walking in nature, practicing a hobby, or simply sitting in silence. Aristotle's concept of eudaimonia, living well and flourishing, reminds us that true fulfillment comes from nurturing what is good for the soul, not chasing endless comparison online. Finally, the seventh step is to focus on what you really need. Imagine your life as a garden. For it to thrive, it needs the right balance of sun, water, and care. Marcus Aurelius taught us to let go of the unnecessary and focus only on what is essential. Epictetus added that happiness comes not from getting everything we want, but from wanting only what is within our control. This means prioritizing relationships that nourish you, values that matter to you, and habits that build your character. Aristotle again called this eudaimonia, a life of virtue, simplicity, and fulfillment. By simplifying your focus, you create space for joy, peace, and resilience to grow. So let's conclude. Emotional mastery isn't about never feeling pain or sadness. It's about learning how to navigate emotions with wisdom, reflection, and strength. Each step we covered, stepping away, reflecting, seeking counsel, setting boundaries, considering consequences, taking breaks, and focusing on essentials, are like tools in your toolkit. Together they allow you to transform chaos into calm, fear into resilience, and rejection into growth. Life is like a vast ocean, and your mind is the ship. Storms will come, but with Stoic wisdom as your compass, you can sail with strength and grace. If you found this journey valuable, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends who may need it, and subscribe for more insights. And most importantly, apply these steps to your life, because every seed of wisdom you plant today is the flower of resilience you'll see tomorrow. Have you ever paused for a moment and wondered why some people seem to move through life with a calm, almost unshakable confidence while others are thrown into chaos at the first sign of difficulty? Why some appear to manifest success, peace, and purpose almost effortlessly, while others feel trapped in cycles of fear, doubt, and negativity? The difference, more often than not, lies not in luck nor in external circumstances, but in the invisible realm of thoughts. And few philosophies have ever understood this truth better than Stoicism. Stoicism is not simply a dusty philosophy from the pages of history. It is a living, breathing guide for anyone who seeks clarity in a chaotic world. At its core, it teaches us a radical but liberating truth, that our thoughts shape our reality, not in the mystical sense of wishing for something and magically receiving it, but in the very real and profound way in which our perception determines our experience. Today, we will explore how the Stoics believed that the mind has the power to turn suffering into strength, chaos into calm, and challenges into opportunities. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The winds roar, the rain lashes against your face, and lightning cracks across the sky. You cannot control the storm itself, but what you can control, what you can always control, is the way you stand within it. Do you panic and let fear consume you? Or do you plant your feet firmly, breathe deeply, and endure with quiet strength? This is the essence of Stoicism. The storm represents life, unpredictable, harsh, and often unfair. Your thoughts, however, are the anchor that keep you steady. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, captured this perfectly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." These words, written nearly 2,000 years ago, remain just as relevant today. Every single day we are faced with events outside of our control. Criticism from others, setbacks in our careers, unexpected losses, or simply the endless noise of the modern world. But the Stoics remind us that these events are neutral. It is our judgment of them, our thoughts about them, that give them power. This idea that our perception creates our reality is revolutionary. When you view difficulties as unbearable tragedies, they will crush you. But when you see them as training for the soul, opportunities to grow in patience, courage, or wisdom, they transform into stepping stones toward greatness. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." In other words, the very struggles we dread are the ones that sculpt us into stronger, wiser beings. Now, this doesn't mean Stoicism asks us to suppress emotion or deny reality. Quite the opposite. It asks us to see reality clearly, without distortion. It invites us to accept what is outside of our control with dignity and to focus our energy on what lies within our power, our thoughts, our choices, and our character. By doing so, we shift from being victims of circumstance to masters of our inner world. Think of Epictetus, who was born a slave, endured hardship and poverty, and yet became one of the greatest Stoic teachers in history. He taught that while the chains on his body were real, the chains on his mind were optional. His freedom was not dependent on external conditions but on the sovereignty of his thoughts. That is why he could say with conviction, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This perspective is life-changing. Imagine two people who lose their jobs on the same day. One is crushed, spirals into despair, and loses faith in himself. The other feels the sting of disappointment but quickly reframes the loss as a chance to find a path more aligned with his values. Same event, but two entirely different realities created by the power of thought. The Stoics would argue that the second person lives more freely because his happiness is not at the mercy of fate but grounded in his own mind. But how do we apply this practically in our daily lives? After all, it's easy to admire these ideas in theory, but much harder to live them when life throws its hardest punches. The Stoics give us tools, mental exercises that reshape the way we think. One such exercise is called the dichotomy of control. This is the practice of separating everything in life into two categories, what you can control and what you cannot. You cannot control the weather, other people's opinions, or the twists of fortune. But you can control your judgments, your effort, and your actions. The more you focus on your sphere of control, the less power external chaos has over you. Another exercise is negative visualization. At first it sounds strange, imagining the worst-case scenario, but the Stoics believed that by calmly picturing possible losses or difficulties, we prepare our minds for reality and learn to appreciate the present moment more deeply. When you think about losing something you love, a possession, a relationship, or even your own health, you begin to value it more, and you also loosen the grip of fear that loss holds over you. This is not pessimism, but resilience training. It shifts your thoughts from clinging desperately to what you cannot keep forever, toward gratitude for what you have right now. Gratitude itself is another cornerstone of Stoic thought. Marcus Aurelius began his meditations by listing the many people who had shaped his life, from his teachers to his family. By recognizing the good in others and the blessings of each day, he kept his mind anchored in appreciation rather than complaint. And modern science now confirms what the Stoics knew intuitively, that gratitude rewires the brain, reducing stress and increasing well-being. We might also consider the role of virtue. For the Stoics, true happiness was not about wealth, status, or pleasure, but about living in harmony with reason and virtue. Courage, justice, wisdom, and self-discipline were the four cardinal virtues they upheld. Why? Because these are the qualities of thought and character that no external force can strip away. Fortune may take your possessions, your health, even your freedom, but it cannot touch your integrity unless you surrender it. This is why Stoicism insists that our greatest treasure lies within. Let us return to the modern world for a moment. Every day, we are bombarded with messages telling us that happiness lies just one purchase away, or that we must constantly compare ourselves to others on social media. These influences can easily warp our thoughts into patterns of envy, anxiety, and discontent. But the Stoic path offers an antidote. By mastering our inner dialogue, by choosing thoughts rooted in gratitude, resilience, and virtue, we reclaim our power. Think about it. Every great achievement, every meaningful change in history began first as a thought, a vision held in the mind before it was made real. Yet, as powerful as thoughts are, they can also destroy when left undisciplined. A person consumed by negative thinking becomes a prisoner of fears that may never even come true. A person guided by positive, rational thought, however, turns possibilities into realities. This is why the Stoics emphasized mental discipline as the highest form of freedom. When Marcus Aurelius led Rome through wars and plagues, he did not have the luxury of retreating into despair. His thoughts had to remain clear and steady, for the fate of an empire rested on his shoulders. His meditations were never intended for publication, but were private reminders to himself, reminders to stay humble, to stay calm, and to accept each moment as it comes. And in reading them today, we see how the same principles can guide us in our far less dramatic, but equally challenging lives. Pause and reflect. How many times has your suffering been amplified not by what happened, but by what you told yourself about what happened? How often has fear of the future stolen the peace of the present moment? The Stoics would tell us that this is the trap of undisciplined thought. But they would also reassure us that liberation is always one decision away, the decision to reclaim our mind. Let us conclude with this thought. Life will never stop testing us. The storms will come, the losses will sting, and the world will often feel overwhelming. But within you lies an untouchable fortress, your ability to choose your thoughts. And in that choice, you shape your reality. So the next time you face hardship, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Ask yourself, is this within my control? If not, release it. If yes, respond with courage and wisdom. Choose gratitude over complaint, resilience over despair, virtue over compromise. In doing so, you will not just endure life's storms, you will transcend them. And perhaps that is the greatest manifestation of all. Not the magical creation of wealth or power, but the daily disciplined act of creating peace, meaning, and strength within your own mind. For in the end, it is not the world that shapes you, but the thoughts you choose to hold about it. And with that truth, you hold the key to an unshakable life.